All right, everybody, welcome back. Good afternoon. We've got more to talk about with Mr. Andre Fuller. And earlier we did Andre Fuller by the numbers. So now we're going to talk about his traits. Again, mostly focusing on Toledo, but the player's the player, right? Whether he's playing at Arkansas Pine Bluff or Toledo, the player is the player in theory. Now, obviously, over the last 4 years, you would hope he's made improvements, and I think that he has. But let's get into Andre Fuller by the traits, kind of like we do during the draft videos. You guys know the drill. This video is sponsored by PrizePicks. So the pros. I think the main thing that stands out with Fuller is that even though he was a late round pick, even though he was not highly coveted in this draft by most, he has really impressive size and he has good strength and he is physical. He is going to be able to physically match up with NFL receivers. You put him in a situation where he needs to go up against even a bigger receiver like a Mike Evans, a stronger receiver. I'm not saying he's going to win, but physically he can keep up with that degree of size and strength. So that is something that stands out. And his great strength to me is press coverage. In fact, I believe that it is kind of a waste of a guy like Andre Fuller if you get him and don't have him press constantly. He's able to get his hands on and disrupt opponents at the line of scrimmage. And that is, I think, his greatest trait. His ability to be patient with his press, to wait, to not buy the fake, and to disrupt their release at the line. So that is his main positive. He's a physical player both at the line of scrimmage and at the catch point. If he is in coverage at the catch point, he's very good at getting his hands in there, knocking the ball away, or punching it out after the receiver starting to catch it. Very physical at the catch point, and that allows him to break up passes that look like they're going to get completed. His technique and press is overall solid. It needs to get better in the NFL, obviously, but he doesn't miss very much, and he doesn't set himself up to fail very much. He doesn't mess up very much. And not only is he big enough to play on the boundary at the NFL level, but he proved in 2025 that he can do it in practice. In 2025, he played on the boundary almost exclusively and did very well. So there's no concern about him having to slide inside at the NFL level, I don't think, because I don't think that would work anyway. He's also good at reading the receiver and following their eyes so he knows when the ball is getting there. He's not the greatest in terms of ball skills, but he can read the receiver and kind of use that knowledge as a replacement for actual ball skills, if that makes sense. So there is something to be said about that. He's a pretty good tackler, so much so that some people actually think he may end up as a safety in the NFL. There's some pretty notable stuff here with his tackling ability. It's not perfect, but it is good. Over his career, he did not miss a lot of tackles, and it would not surprise me if he does end up at safety in the NFL because he's not super fast. He's very willing as a run defender, willing to take on blocks, willing to work through traffic, willing to get, blocked out of a play. He's not someone who's going to take those plays off. And even though he's not that fast, the Shrine Bowl, he had a GPS speed of over 20.5 miles per hour. That would be better than a 4.49. So I guess the sense is that this team thinks there's probably football speed there that doesn't show up on the combine. And this is another player that did do good special teams work in his college career on kicks and punts covering. So they're hoping for that as well. If you like sports, then the best way to make them even better and more exciting is using the PrizePicks app, where it always feels good to be right. PrizePicks makes daily fantasy simple. Just pick more or less on your favorite players and build lineups with a few taps. Whatever sport you're into, and obviously we are now firmly into the NFL offseason, so we're all about baseball. We got some basketball, we got some hockey, whatever it is you like. PrizePicks gives you a fun way to stay locked in while you're watching. Definitely make sure to use the promo code HMA. PrizePicks is hooking up users with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. If you use that promo code, that is HMA. I've had a great time on PrizePicks so far, so definitely get on over to it, check it out, and make sure to get your lineups. And don't forget about Team Picks, where you can pick winners, spreads, and totals on any major game. So download the app now, use HMA, and get on over to Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And remember, always gamble responsibly. So those are the pros as I see it. Those are the things that Andre Fuller brings to the table that are positive. And it's probably enough to make the team as long as he outdoes Pritchett, which I think is doable. Now, there are weaknesses here, and I I would say that even to a bigger degree than we see with Julian Neal, we don't see the pattern matching and movement ability on the part of Fuller to hang in man coverage. So when you're talking about him as a man cover guy, I just don't see it. The speed is not great, but it's more than just the speed. So I don't think you can ask him to do that. And most NFL receivers are going to be faster than him, even if he's faster than we expect because of the GPS speed. So you have issues there. And I think overall he is scheme specific. Mostly just going to be a press zone guy. And that's kind of what I said about the Tennessee corner, Colton Hood. But in the case of Fuller, I think it's even more extreme because he's even less athletic. And I think he's going to have to learn zone a little bit as well. I don't know how great he is at it yet. Now, that's fine. It's a 7th round pick on a smaller school guy, but just understand you're getting something a little bit narrow here. I think off zone, off man, press man. I don't know about that stuff. I think you want him in press zone as much as possible. Once he's beat, if you get behind him, he's not really going to get back into play because he's not fast enough and not quick enough and not a smooth enough mover. So once he's beat, you're probably in trouble. Sometimes he's a little bit frantic when he's trying to find the ball in the air. So sometimes he'll knock the pass away because he's able to read the receiver's eyes, but it's really hard for him to get interceptions because he's not actually turning his head to find the ball in the air. There is some minor cleanup needed in the way in which he approaches tackling. So he's a little bit lower, kind of a higher center of gravity, I think. And that's going to be a much bigger problem in the NFL than it was at Toledo. He has segmented, choppy hips, which is part of the reason why it's hard for him to cover because he doesn't flip his hips very fast, and that allows receivers to build separation. If he does miss his jam at the line, he's kind of cooked. There's not a lot he can do to get back into play once he misses his jam. And it is worth noting that he missed all of 2024 with an injury. And it seems like he's bounced back really well from that, but it doesn't change the fact that you do have to contend with the fact that a significant portion of his career has been spent nursing an injury. And he also, of course, never got to the point where he was able to test his mettle against better competition. Even Toledo was not great. So that is the rundown as I see it on Fuller. There's some good stuff. There's some not so good stuff. But overall, I do think that this team sees something with him that they like. It's a little Julian Neal-like in a way, right? It's a little bit like Julian Neal because Neal brings a lot of these same things to the table. Neal is just bigger and a better tackler, and I think a little bit better equipped for zone. But Fuller, some of the same stuff goes here, man. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here. We'll do tape study later unless something big happens and I got to supersede it, but I imagine that even then we're going to do it the tape video later tonight. And yeah, that'll take us home on Fuller, and then we've got 2 draft picks left. So I'll see you guys soon. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think, and that'll do it for this video.